Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom, the walking, talking encyclopedia. Apana, the umbilical cart, which represents the inlet and outlet at the same time. This is the center theme of this particular thing, that Apana represents out breath or outlet of the body, and umbilical cord represents Apana Prana, which is the source of incoming as well as outgoing for the fetus. My mission, the impeccable wisdom, knowing which everything is fully known. My greatest discovery, Divyank, the divine design of nature with which the perfect objects of nature or universe are designed and created. Divyank is the result of 60 years of integrated education. Impeccable wisdom is enlightening, and integrated knowledge is empowering. The whole video centers around the concept which is explained in one of the Upanishad called Aitreya Upanishad. There are three sections, and they center about the Cosmic Purusha. Somehow or other, the impression which was created with this Upanishad is this spontaneous creation of Cosmic Purusha. But there is something hidden in this particular Aitreya Upanishad, which I like to bring through contemplative meditation. As you can see, the picture of me sitting down, trying to see the universe as such, see the reality in the real light. Now let's understand what this Upanishad is talking about. Section 1. In the beginning, there was self alone. That means before the creation of the universe, whatever was there, as I have told you in the beginning, was in darkness, andhakar, or in tamas, or in the death state, or alone. Brihad Upanishad also talks about self alone, and Aitreya Upanishad also talks about self alone. That means whatever there was, the soul consciousness. Now, self thought of creating the worlds. Only when complete soul only can think in terms of creating the universe, because everything is designed and created from the self and comes to the self, is sustained by the self, is dissolved into self, is the central theme of ancient Indian wisdom. Third step, from the self, he created the world of atoms and water. Atoms, elements, molecules, and first molecule, which is very important, is water. I have already spoken about in the beginning itself. Then he created the guardians from the water. Now, this is very, very interesting. Lokpalan are the guardians for the universe, are the worlds, were created from the water. That means whatever life we have today, it all started in water. What a great wisdom is hidden in this particular line. After having created the guardians from the water, then he created the divinities of elements. Okay, divinities of elements mean they are Panchabhutas. The mouth for speech and fire, Agnibhuta. Nostrils for breath, smell, and earth, Bhuta. Bhuta is the second one. The eyes for sight and the sun, the light, vision, is the third one. Ear for hearing and space, Akashbhuta. Skin for touch, air element, Vayubhuta. In other words, there are five states of elements. They are related with five senses. And the senses are, from Akash you can talk of hearing, touch is sparsh from air element, fire is a light is from the sun, and earth is for smell, and speech and fire. So some of these things have been very clearly defined. What are the absolutely essential for the human life or living beings put together? After having made the five elements, the heart for the mind. In other words, manas or mind is closely associated with the heart, and heart is associated with moon. Nabhi, the navel for outbreath and the death. Mean when soul is going to go out of this particular chakra called navel or navi, and that is for outbreath as well as death. Generative organs for water, apabhuta. Mean procreation centers around water element again. This lot of deep meaning in this particular section of Aitreya Upanishad, where it talks about in the beginning there was soul alone. Soul thought of creating the world. He created the world of atoms, elements, molecules, compounds, cells, and the body. He then created the guardians of the water, then created divinities of elements, five elements, plus heart, mind, navel for outbreath and the death, and generative organs from water and procreation. Let's go to the next and try to understand what do they signify. Section 2 of Aitreya Upanishad says he created divinities, and those divinities which were created by the self fell into the ocean. These divinities were subjected to hunger and thirst. Now he's talking about divinities, divine consciousness. In other words, Sanatana Dharma talks about it 33 crore Devi Devtas, gods and goddesses. All these gods were thrown into the ocean. Mean everything started from ocean. Then these were subject to hunger and thirst. Now they felt hungry and thirsty. They needed water and food. Having created the divinities, having created the Cosmic Purusha, having put that into the ocean, subjected them to hunger, and then created food and water were created for the divinity. In other words, food, water came from elements only. Atoms and enumerates led to the formation of food. In other words, if you take food, plant kingdom, mean they were created before human beings were created. See, we can say we have evolved from mineral kingdom to the plant kingdom, animal kingdom to the human beings per se. Okay, then the divinities were asked to catch the food. Very interesting. Divinities you are put, and you are asking the divinity, we have created food for you, now you take the food. Now starts the real trick. Ancient Indian is known to explain scientific concept in a very cryptic language. It unfortunately Vedas and Upanishads have not been understood because it's all cryptic language and you need to be in tune with universal consciousness to understand the meaning of statements or sutras or shlokas of Upanishads and Vedas. Let's now take one by one. The fire becoming speech entered the mouth. That means mouth is responsible for speech and speech is responsible from fire. Air becoming breath entered the nostrils. Mean we breathe through the nostrils is something which is explained in the second one. Sun becoming sight entered the eyes. Sun represents light. So sun is a separate entity which is responsible for vision. That means all the bright light during the sun daytime we can see through the eyes, and maybe that is what he's talking about. Cones responsible for seeing seven colors of light during the daytime or during brightness, and sun is related to sight. Space becoming hearing enter the ears. In other words, Akash Bhuta, Akash, Aksharas, sound, words enter as hearing through the ears. Now, how beautiful is classified approach of these different elements? How clear are they? Which element is associated with which sense and which organ? Next one, the plant trees becoming hair entered the skin. In other words, plants and trees are correlated with hair which grow from the body, and they enter the skin, and you can see tree this hair on the skin. They have been correlated with plants and trees. Moon becoming the moon, the mind, enter the heart. Now, reinforcing that moon is responsible fluctuations of the mind, and mind is closely associated with the heart. And I would totally agree. Whenever the mind is fluctuation, it is the heart which gets disturbed. Whether it's a palpitation or higher blood pressure or tachycardia, you can easily see when we are in fear, psychosis, tension, anxiety, neurosis of the mind, fluctuating mind. Heart is the first one which gives us think that mind is not at rest. If heart is at rest, mind is at rest. Death becoming the out breath, enter the navel. Mean person soul, inner soul, or person dies through the navel rather than any other organ of the body. Thus, this is what Aitreya Upanishad is talking about. Again, out breath is related with navel or navi, and that is what is talked about. No wonder many people at the time of death say hair out. Quite clear. Water becoming semen entered the generative organs. Now it's showing seminal fluid is watery in nature and it enters the generative fluid for procreation. Now the picture down is how the fetus is growing from first month to second, third, fourth, fifth, right up to 10 months. You can see 10 stages of growth of a fetus, which I am talking about as 10 stages of development. Now let's go to third. Apana, the Cosmic Purusha, I'm talking about Cosmic Purusha. Now focus is on Apana. Let's highlight that Apana. Why one word in the entire Upanishads which stands out, which needs to be understood clearly, is Apana. So let's again take the third section and explain in the English language. The mouth and speech could not grasp the food. Whatever food is created for the divinities, for the Cosmic Purusha, could not be caught with the mouth as well as speech is one part. But I do know with the speech also you can think of the food and be satisfied. Nose and breath could not grasp the food. Mean whatever food was created for the divinities, for the Cosmic Purusha, could not enter through breath and the nose into the body. Mouth, it could not enter. Nose and breath, it could not enter. The eyes and sight could not grasp the food. In other words, whatever was designed for this Cosmic Purusha for the further evolution, which is the real food for the Cosmic Purusha or the divinities within the body, could not be received by mouth, nose, eyes. Even ears and hearing could not grasp the food. Skin, hair, and touch could not grasp the food. The heart and the mind could not grasp the food. The generative organs could not grasp the food. Almost all the 9 organs associated with 9 major parts were unable to receive are grasped, the food meant for divinities and the cosmic Purusha through those organs and those elements which are very important otherwise. Then how did they get it? Then the out breath, apana, could grasp the food. This is what has been hidden so beautifully in this particular Upanishad, Apana. He said, Apana could grasp that. Amazing. The one out breath, which is about to throw things out, person is going to die through the navel, through Apana, and what is thrown from the body by the divinities and others to outside at the time of death is actually the one which could receive the food. And I am pleasantly surprised and happy at the same time. Almost everyone till date has not been able to understand this particular line of Apana. How could Apana grasp the food? Even Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, in his book, The Major Upanishads, from this I have taken this, has also gone on record to say this has not been understood. And to the best of my knowledge, I have not seen any writing or heard anything where this particular concept was crystal clear in their understanding and they could explain this concept in the light of science with the scientific evidence which nobody could deny. And the reason for me to make this apana as a separate video to highlight this कि Aitreya Upanishad is not talking about spontaneous creation of the human body. Cosmic Purusha, as explained by Aitreya Upanishad, is talking about developing fetus within the womb of the mother in 10 stages, and that is, in other words, food for the growing fetus. All the divinities within the growing fetus, the cosmic Purusha, could be received only through the umbilical cord, because umbilical cord is the one which is called apana in the body. I mean, everything is thrown out the umbilical cord. All the waste product of the body goes out of the fetus through the umbilical vein, and then umbilical cord is responsible to get all the nutrition for the growing fetus from the mother placenta, and that is what I have explained right at the bottom: placenta, umbilical cord, and the fetus. Now, I would rather explain this little more in detail. When it said Cosmic Purusha having created is put into the ocean. In this particular concept, the ocean means amniotic fluid. And develop 9-10 organs of conception are developed within those 9+ months, or say 10 months. I have added one more thing at the last, which is also the part of Aitreya Upanishad. Aitreya Upanishad says that self, food entered through umbilical cord. The self entered the body through the top of the head. Top of the head. And this is something which I've been talking about. The soul enters at 22 weeks of gestation through the head and then takes charge over the earth. This is something which I've already explained. There is something. Now let's try to understand that little more in detail. The entry of the human soul. First stage, the full development fetus is 21 weeks. Entry of the human soul is at 22 weeks through an opening in the head which is called anterior fontanelle, talu or brahmandra. And it is written in this that entry is through brahmandra and entry is very blissful. If soul enters at 22 weeks through the top of the head, through the entire front, Brahmandra, the fetus can be developed according to requirement of this particular life's spiritual science evolution. But for some reason, if the soul does not enter in 22 weeks of gestation, as I've explained, it can enter through the head for the next 22 years. The brain takes 21 years to develop, if it has to develop on its own. And soul can come and take charge at a later date, can also be done. But I do believe if soul enters in 22 weeks of gestation, that person will be a born Siddha or enlightened soul. For such a person, wisdom, impeccable wisdom, another thing will be very, very natural, because this child or the fetus and the child or the growing person is actually guided by the soul consciousness, not individual mind or intellect or otherwise. That is what is called born Siddha, and I would agree with that. But prove that up to 21 years brain develops and cranial sutures are left open till 22 years for the soul to enter through the head. But after that, cranial sutures close, then evolution, by and large, enlightenment of the higher soul descending a Mahashakti, or the third soul within the body, or second soul within the body, would be rather difficult. So from this point of view, I think one mystery which has been associated with Aitreya Upanishad are in the minds of all spiritual people, philosophers, sages and others, is been explained very clearly that this Upanishad is not talking about spontaneous creation of a human fetus, child or human being. It's talking about gradual development of the fetus within the womb of the mother, and then growing independently as one, or with the help of soul to develop to the level it is required. So I think demystifying the mystery of apana prana, the outlet receiving things as well as going, and associating with umbilical cord of the growing fetus, I think is one of the greatest contribution. I feel happy that I've been able to understand, accept, and explain in the light of modern sciences with the evidence which I'm sure people with intelligence, with understanding, should have no difficulty in accepting. But the people who do not want to accept even a logical thinking, I cannot help. Anyway, I am happy that I have been able to decode Aitreya Upanishad, demystify the mystery of Apana, which has not been done by the greatest of minds of the modern world or even earlier world in a recorded thing till date. I am able to do. I am happy as one of my contribution beside of Divyank and many other things which have talked about it, which we are going to talk much and more with many more mathematically conclusive evidences thereafter. Now, this particular picture is sympathetic system, and I have brought this picture to just explain that Apana is primarily, quote unquote, associated with sympathetic nervous system and that particular inferior mesenteric thing. All those nerves which are part of the sympathetic system, which supply the organs of expulsion, like lower gastrointestinal tract right up to anus rectum, bladder, uterus, as well as testicles, and the one this particular sympathetic system, which is corresponding to Swadhisthana chakra, are the responsible for apana prana. So, quote unquote, from my experience, I would say apana prana are the navi, the umbilical cord, is closely associated with sympathetic system from inferior mesenteric ganglion, which controls reproductive organs, or the lower part of gastrointestinal tract or digestive system, and of course the bladder. I think for that way I'm quite happy that I've been able to give the evidence of apana and its association with part of abdomen, perineum, etc. And this picture, of course, is a repetition, and I've already spoken quite a lot. I think I will not go into details of it. Let me at this juncture say I have really enjoyed trying to explain with my experience of the beauty of apana and its role in understanding this particular Upanishad on one side and giving the evidence and using it for my own physical health, how with the help of understanding the concept of apana, I was able to literally cleanse all the waste products from my body, throw that out effortlessly without any problem. So that way, there are certain things which you will have to experience on your own through experimentation. I leave it to the viewers to understand and make optimum use of the knowledge which I am sharing from my own experience with the scientific evidence in all the videos and coming videos put together. So thank you very much again. Thank you.